Here we go. So I took a week off. I was chilling, to be honest. Spending some time with the wife, playing a few other games. It's kind of my whole vibe with 2K now. I didn't make videos when I want to. I don't want to force content. But today we've got a video that I really want to make. And it's the third part of our MYTHBUSTERS series. It's geared towards the conversation around RNG. Now, RNG has been one of the most controversial topics of the last 2 years with what I find generally in the community, because I put a tweet out the other day and people responding to the tweet, and then people jumped in my DMs as well. And what you find with RNG is people are quite tribalistic about it, right? They either really like it or they really hate it. And what tends to happen is depending on what side you fall on, you struggle to understand the other side of the conversation. And this is one of the toughest ones to really come to a conclusion on, because there are two sides to it, all right? So the natural instinct is to go RNG is weak because it's all luck based, and then you've got the other side of it where RNG is great because it creates excitement and keeps people playing the game. So this is the perfect time for me to make this video. Let me tell you why. So let's go into my collection really quickly, and it's gonna blow your mind probably when you actually look at the luck I've had. So let's just go through this. Let's go through like the first 10 pages and we'll see how many RNG rewards we have. So Jamal Wilkes, I might miss some, to be honest. Jamal Wilkes is there from this season. Moses is there on the draft. Joe Dumas is there from Ascension. Who else have we got? We got Albert, who was on the clutch time wheel. Matt Calvin, was he RNG? Yeah, I think he was, right? Draft, yep. He was. Let's see who else we've got here. Alright, there will be others. There will be others. Arenas from this season, from clutch time. Right. Beal, TTO. Like I said, I probably missed some already, to be honest. You're probably shouting at the screen going, hey, what about that one? Sloan from Ascension last season. Richard Dumas from Triple Threat Offline last season. Marquez Johnson from Triple Threat Online last season. And it just keeps going. It just keeps going and going. Kemp, clutch time. So you can see my luck, right? You can kind of see my luck when it comes to these things. And yeah, my nickname on Twitter is #RNGGod. It's kind of a joke, but it is valid, you know. I've had way better RNG luck than most, I would say. That's probably a safe way to put it. You know, you've got to keep going through. You've got other players as well. Reggie Lewis. It just kind of keeps going. And it's been this way pretty much the whole year where we picked up the majority of RNG rewards. Now, why is this a good time for me to make the video? Well, last season I actually got every RNG reward. This season, although it's early, and I think by this point last season I hadn't got every RNG reward either, I am having some issues, okay? So you saw I had Moses, I had a few of them, you know, I had Dumas. There's a few that are eluding me. The first one is Kelly Oubre, not Clutch Time, sorry, Triple Threat Online. Kelly Oubre, so I have run this board 6 times. Now, the first 3 times I ran it, he popped up on the first time, actually, I ran it. And I was saving the board. You know how you can save the board? If you don't know that, you should know that. That's a real helpful way of getting a lot of the TTO RNG rewards. And I missed him on 3 consecutive runs on the board. So nearly 30 ball drops. I literally just missed him. So he was on the board, and I just couldn't get it to land in the corner. Then, 2 things happened. So then I got to the top of the board again once this new event had started with Mikhail and Fisher. And he was gone. It didn't save. The board didn't save. Because it had been refreshed, the board didn't save. So he was just gone. And then I think on the top board, yeah, on the top board that time, he came up again. So I was like, okay, cool. We're back to where we were. I just got to keep playing. And then the worst possible thing happened. I won a game, my opponent rage quit, and it gave me a loss. So I dropped the ball once, and that was the end of it. So I couldn't save the board. I've now run the board 3 times since, and he hasn't popped up. I've got 2 games left. Maybe he'll pop up on this board. So Kelly Oubre has now become a real problem to get. One, because the boards were refreshed. That's fine. Saving ball drops, is ultimately a glitch, so that's fine. And then the second time, I literally got a loss for a win, which is one of the biggest problems in this game, and probably another video. But it cost me that card, so it did leave me feeling kind of screwed over, to be honest. Like that's the feeling I had from it. And I haven't had that feeling much this year. But that is the problem with RNG. The other ones that are eluding me are... Well, I played about 50 games for LaMarcus, I think. Just doing XP, doing the Drew challenges, doing the Sealy challenges. We must have played at least 50 games. And LaMarcus didn't pop up. And I've probably paid about 50 since, and Sabonis hasn't popped up. So I'm really struggling this season to get the RNG rewards. That's where we are. Now, obviously, you've got beyond level 40, which here will give me at least one of those cards. Now, I'm so sure I will get Oubre by the end of the season. That is 100%. Like, I'm 100% sure that I will get Oubre by the end of the season. So this is where the conversation starts to change around RNG. Okay, it's completely random, and theoretically, you can play 1,000 games and never get the card. But with TTO, it's a bit different. The card pops up a lot more often. If you're good, if you've got a good win ratio, if you get through games quickly, you can, as far as I'm concerned, guarantee that reward. Theoretically, it's not guaranteed, but it is. Let's be realistic, okay? Now, LaMarcus and Sabonis, those are the two that could cause me problems and could stop me getting every RNG reward. Now, in reality, I just need to get one of them, because I can get the other one from here. And we will be at a point in a couple of weeks where two things tend to happen. One, they'll both be on the board at the same time, which will increase my odds of getting one of them. And also, I think the odds just go up at the end of the season. I think that these cards are way easier to get. If you just look at Twitter, you'll see the last week of the season, people tend to start pulling these cards at a much higher rate. Cool. So that's where we are. Okay, so let's jump over to Twitter, right? So you can see here very clearly that I put up a post kind of stating the three things that I think people don't think about enough when it comes to RNG, okay? So I said if 2K made every RNG reward just win 50 games in all modes, so you're guaranteed to get it in 50 wins, but you cannot then get it within 50 wins, right? So let's look at both sides of just that really quickly. So you've got 50 wins, you have to win 50 games, right? We're rewarding skill now, which is one of the big arguments against RNG, right? It doesn't reward skill. You could be 1,000 times better player than someone else, and that someone else could end up with more rewards. Here's the big conversation for me. The idea of rewards. You're going to reward one of two things generally in this game. You're going to reward time, or you're going to reward skill. And the thing that RNG does is it doesn't reward either. It can reward time if you put enough. You know, if you play 1,000 games of every game mode every season, your odds of getting those RNG rewards are way higher. But it doesn't really reward those. Actually, what it rewards is luck. Okay, so making it 50 wins does introduce skill. Now, this is one of the big suggestions from people that are anti-RNG, saying like, can you just give it to us in a really simple way where we're guaranteed, and that's the word you'll hear again, guaranteed the reward, okay? Keep that in mind as we keep going. So then I asked three questions. You can see there's a bunch of responses to this. But would you play the game more or less? Right, I'm going to answer these questions because I didn't answer these questions. What I did do is I did pretty much respond to every comment, just kind of asking them, you know, have you really thought about this? Like, what about the other side of it? So, would you play the game more or less? Me personally, my luck is good, right? So I would end up playing the game more if it was 50 wins. Because there's a bunch of rewards I've got in like 5, 6, 7 games. So I'd have to play more to then get the reward. If your luck is bad, then you play less, right? That's good. Okay, so that, again, it depends on your luck, the answer to that question. For me, I would probably have to play the game more. Would you enjoy it more or less? Now, here's where my opinion has changed over the years, okay? I play 2K to play 2K. I don't play 2K for the rewards anymore. This is a big thing that I changed this year. So this really comes down to your mindset. That's what it comes down to. Honestly, it really does. If you're loading in TTO or TT offline just to get the reward, your mentality is flawed. Video games are supposed to be played just for fun, guys. That's the point of a video game. It's literally the point. And video game creators have taken advantage of our mentality for years by introducing things like microtransactions, the feeling, like the FOMO feeling that they put into every video game, to capitalize on the fact that we're not trying to play the game to play the game. We're trying to play the game to get something. Something that it doesn't tangibly exist. A virtual reward that will mean nothing to you at some point in the near future. So they capitalize on our mentality. That's what happens here. So would I enjoy it more or less? The answer is less, because I'd be forced to play game modes more that I wouldn't usually play, okay? The only game mode I really play now that I don't want to play is TT Offline, and I've told you I only really do it for XP and things like that. So it's very rare you'll see me grinding TT Offline, or might have to at the end of the season if we want to get that reward. But it will be just to get that reward. I need to be honest with myself, and you need to be the same. We're not playing that game mode for fun. I know some people do. I know Blasian loves it, and that's his whole thing. That's great. Fantastic. But for me, it's not a game mode I want to play. TTO, I play for fun. Every time I log into TTO, I'm playing for fun. I'm enjoying it way more than I ever have. So it's a good mode to play. You know, I love playing Limited. I love playing Clutch Time. These are fun modes to play. And it's what's created the longevity. It's what stopped me getting like disillusioned with the game this year. Is at no point have I forced myself to play. I haven't made content for a week because I didn't feel like playing the game that much. That's why I haven't released a video. So when I come back to it, I can, you know, release a video that's, you know, me enjoying myself. Not me burnt out and pissed off. So yeah, I would enjoy it less feeling like I have to because it would trigger me. It would make me do it. If it was like 50 wins in TT Offline and you're guaranteed to get the reward, I would do it. I've done it with all the others. I've done it with Sealy. I've done it with Drew Holiday. I've got Bob McAdoo. So I will play the game, you know, and play those modes for rewards, but I wouldn't enjoy it as much. I'd find myself playing modes that I don't necessarily want to play in that moment. Would it change the way you feel about getting the card? Absolutely. Absolutely. This to me is like the most black and white. And actually, if you go through the comments, everyone has kind of agreed, actually, that it would be less exciting. And it would. It really would. When it just pops up like that, there is that feeling of like, you've kind of been blessed, right? That's the feeling that you get. One of the issues, and this again for another video with 2K, is when I've completed Unlimited and things like that, I'm going to go back into my collection now. So going back into my collection, you know, some of the rewards that we've got, I just didn't feel a level of excitement when I got the card, right? I just didn't feel a level of excitement when you get cards like Bob. And, you know, it just feels like I'm glad that's over. Worthy, you know, last season in Clutch Time. There's just a feeling I'm just glad it's over. That's the feeling I have. Thank God that's over. I can go do something else. I can go do something I enjoy. That's the feeling. And it doesn't mean go play another game, but it might not be, like I said, that game mode that I wanted to play at that time. Okay, so let's break this down. Let's break down the arguments, okay? Let's be really, like, clear about each side of these arguments. So the people against RNG are against RNG because they think it rewards. Just luck. And the issue is, and there are examples of this, and I'm going to give you those examples. I'm going to give you one of those examples. Splash trying to get Terry Dishinger for 250k last year. Played over 1,000 games of TT Offline. 1,000 games. Now, one of the things that dropped into my DMs, and you could probably guess who it was. I don't even need to say. You can probably guess who it was, the most positive guy in the community, the guy that would defend 2K to the hilt. Jumped into my DMs when I put this up going, not every person is supposed to have every reward, but that's not actually true. There are exceptions to that. There are people that need these cards, and Splash did need that card because he had a real shot at making $250,000. So why should he have to suffer through 1,000 games to get blessed in the same way I did in 30 games when I didn't need that card? I didn't. I'm going to complete Unlimited, but there are layers to it, right? The top layer is, you know, if you're a high elite comp player that needs a card, especially when they put OP cards into RNG, that's really problematic for an elite player, especially a comp player, and especially someone who's going to be tracking at 250k. Then you've got the next level, people that want to complete Showdown. Some of these cards can be vital to that run. And then you've got people that want to complete Unlimited. It's people that don't do any of that largely defend RNG. I'm just going to put it out there. People that don't play online, don't play in any competitive mode whatsoever, or in any competitive way, are the people that will defend RNG because they don't understand why this is important. It is important to certain people. It's way more important. It's life-changing for some people, using that example of Splash. Okay, so that's a complete failure on one side to understand, but also some very valid points in terms of RNG. Right, let's look at the other side of the conversation. Right, people that defend RNG. So I just gave the you know, argument that, oh, not everyone needs to have every reward. Okay, that's fine. We've already disproved that. Okay, I'm not going to go over it again. That's been disproved, right? But the additional arguments I make is it adds more excitement to the game, right? You don't know when these rewards are going to pop up. And that's true. You don't know when those rewards are going to pop up. And when they do, it absolutely is exciting. I agree. It's way more exciting than just finishing a grind. That feeling of accomplishment for me hasn't been there since 12-0 in 2K20. That feeling of accomplishment of completing a grind just hasn't been there. So that's the other argument. And then you've got the final argument, which is it keeps people on the game. Now, I don't understand that argument. Okay, you're grinding endlessly in the hope you get a reward. Now, I didn't do that. Last season, 10 days into season, I had every reward. And I'm not one of those guys that goes, I've got nothing to do, because I continue to play the game, because as I said, I played the game for fun. But the idea that, you know, it's just going to keep you on the game because you're grinding endlessly. What is the positive of that? I'm struggling to understand what the positive of that is. Okay, so here's where I am with RNG, okay? This is the conclusion. Has the myth been busted that RNG has ruined 2K? I don't think it has ruined 2K. I think the way 2K have approached it is flawed. I just think the odds need to be better. That's it. RNG actually, to me, is a much better way of giving out some of these cards. And when you look at a mode like Clutch Time, you have the main reward, so you have a guaranteed reward. And RNG actually is an additional layer to that. It's not the entire mode. The challenge that we've had is the RNG reward has often been better than the main reward, which is tough. Not so much this season, you know, Arenas isn't going to outplay MyTeam. So they switched it around, and that's the right way to do it. I think if you've got the main reward being a really good card that everyone wants, and then an RNG reward on the way, just kind of being a surprise if it pops up, that's great. The problem occurs when the RNG reward is a must-have card. That's where the community breaks down, everything becomes a bit toxic, right? So the solution to me is just make the odds better. Leave it in there. Honestly, I was anti-RNG last year. I don't mind it this year. And like I said, guys, I'm having a tough time with things this season, getting these RNG rewards. So I'm not in a place now where I'm just using bias because I've had such a good year. I'm struggling this season to get the RNG rewards. I genuinely think it is good if it's done in the right way. I think the first thing is it can't be the best cards in the game. RNG cards cannot be the best cards in the game. That is when it becomes really problematic. I think the idea that just it brings like endless gameplay is just not true, and it's a flawed mentality that we have. We should be playing different modes because we want to play those modes at the time, not forcing ourselves to play a mode that we don't necessarily want to play in that moment, and that being a positive, it just doesn't make any sense. But the real key to this is just boost the odds dramatically. Dramatically. That's where it should be. In terms of TTO, I think Ubre should pop up on at least one of the top 3 boards every time. That's where I am. It's not difficult to get to the top 3, but people save ball drops, and the reason they do that is because he doesn't pop up enough, right? So people are using glitches and exploits in the game to do that. With TT Offline, it has to be like 1 in 20 games. It has to be. That needs to be the odds. That doesn't mean he's going to pop up 1 in 20 games. He might pop up 1 in 100 if those odds don't fall in your favour. But 1 in 20 is fine. Like, we just need to reduce it. Clutch time the same. I think 1 in 50 is fine on clutch time. So by the time you complete clutch time as a whole, there's a chance that card will pop up twice over that period. Then you don't have to keep playing if you don't want to. Because it's this point where it gets frustrated. You've completed it. Now you're just churning out games. You've gone glass side. You've gone into, autopilot basically. You know what I'm talking about when you're just glassy-eyed just playing the game. Like, you're not enjoying it, you're not invested in it, you're not interested in what's happening on the screen. You're just playing and hoping that card pops up. That's the bit that we need to avoid. So, has the myth been busted? I don't think RNG has ruined 2K. I think there are positives to it. But I also think it's done really, really badly in the game right now. And I'm excited about next year. There's a couple of things that need to be still resolved in 2K22 going into 2K23. RNG is one of them. It needs to be fixed slightly, and there's a bunch of other things like Unlimited needs to be sorted out and a few other things. But outside of that, guys, it's a fun thing to have in the game. The feeling I get from an RNG card is actually better than the feeling I get from completing a mode like Clutch Time. So there is an intangible there that makes the game interesting. Now, if you've spent the whole year just being absolutely screwed in terms of RNG, you're going to disagree with almost everything I said in the video. But it's very circumstantial, and it's very rare that people go through those experiences, but they do, and I understand it. But like I said, for those people, the odds just need to be better, and then everyone is happy. That's the conversation, guys. So the myth hasn't been busted. I don't think it has, but there's a lot of improvement to be done with the concept. That's the video, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. Until next time, thanks for watching.